Sunday, November 24th, the week of Thanksgiving, 2024. Was an interesting week/weekend. I think the highlight of the week was hearing my first ever accidental Norm Macdonald impression in public. Probably the best one I've ever heard, too. 85-year-old woman, no less, at the Safeway, coming to return as only an octogenarian would, return chicken that she had bought there the day before, and instead of just saying, as most would, it just wasn't very good, wasn't worth my money, something along those lines, she makes sure to make a total scene out of it, which I fully appreciated, while also sounding exactly like Norm Macdonald, including his cadence and how he would phrase that exact scenario. She waited until she finally got someone to pay her the time of day and let off with the phrase, I got chicken here yesterday. Chicken breasts here yesterday. And it tasted like tape. The what now? The breasts tasted like tape. As if everyone within a 50-foot radius couldn't hear her to begin with. She made sure to repeat herself and yell it, just the way I imagine the late Norm Macdonald would. And of course, she couldn't have just said chicken too. She had to say, chicken breasts, as a matter of fact. So that was probably the highlight of the week. Highlight of the weekend had to be the Arizona State football game, where fans insisted on storming the field with 1 second left on the clock. They had to clear the field. They had to do a replay review to prove that there was a second left on the clock. And in that time, the fans are still on the field. And the Arizona State head coach, Kenny Dillingham, went over to the refs as they were reviewing it and gave them this look like this game better be over. And unfortunately for him, it was not. They had to clear the field for one more play. But the highlight of it was Kenny giving us the best Wifeswap Richard facial expression impression since Wifeswap Richard himself. And in previous years, we would not have heard what was said on the field, but now with, everyone there having a microphone built into their phone and everyone recording and the live mic on the ref, you had about 50 different sources that were going to give you the hot mic live audio of what he said, which is unfortunate because it would have been much more fun. Well, it was much more fun for the time being to picture him yelling at the refs as Wifeswap Richard would. Something to the effect of, these refs, they think they're the smart people. Well, guess what? They're not. These refs act like they're the kings and we're the sorry people. And unfortunately, what he actually said was much more profane. Well, fortunately, let's face it. But that would have been the best because his face matched up with that perfectly. And when you couldn't hear what he said on the live broadcast, that's kind of where your mind went immediately. If you've seen that clip before. If not, you're missing out. and I'll put a link in the description or in the comments because you need to know that one. That's TV classic. Top 10 most memorable reality TV moments of the last 25 years. That's got to be, I don't know if it's top 5, but it's somewhere between 6 and 8. As for right now, I've got one of the most quotable movies of the last 35 years on in the background. A rare instance that gets me to turn CMT on. Managed to make it around to almost every channel, but CMT is a rarity. So you know they got something good cooking when I've got CMT on. And it's none other than Varsity Blues. And for that one, I mean, the quotes are endless. I think the one that always sticks out to me is when his dad insists on him going to a football first school and he has his mind set on an Ivy League school, and he shouts out in a way that only James Vanderbeek can shout out, "I don't want your life." That one does it for me. Unfortunately, every time I've seen James Vanderbeek's face since then, that is exactly what I hear him saying, no matter what he's actually saying. However, he is incredible in this one. This one also makes me think of the way Jon Voight is a total ass to everyone in this movie. And I can't help but wonder how hard it is to fight human nature when you get a role like that. And you get a guy who's that good at his role and that believable throughout the entire film. That, hey, this guy isn't even acting at this point. He's just being brutal on everybody. And how tough it must be for those on set, and especially those involved in scenes with him, to see him as just a decent human being afterwards. This one, J.K. Simmons in Whiplash. Kind of always wonder too, like, has Miles Teller ever been able to see him as a decent human being after that? Because I know it's acting, but very rarely do those get shot and done on the first take. Most of those scenes are shot over and over and over, and the lines are delivered over and over and over. Ideally with the same ferociousness as the final cut. Most of the time pretty close if it's not at that same level. And I just can't imagine weeks on end of Jon Voight or J.K. Simmons screaming in your face and not at some point just being unable to talk yourself into believing, hey, he's a decent human being, or, you know, we could probably be friends after this, because you just got yelled at too many times, just screaming in your face for weeks on end. I've just always wondered how that relationship works out after the fact, or if sometimes actors just have to take roles knowing whoever happens to be involved in this project, if they're one of the first people cast in it and it's an original story or a story that's not playing a specific person, you're just playing an archetype of a person. In this case, in Varsity Blues, an asshole head coach who makes the entire football program and school logo itself just all about him. It's all about him. In the case of Whiplash, a conductor at a prestigious music school who, once again, makes it all about him. And anyone who's not him is beneath him. I just wonder if you're taking a role that goes the opposite of a guy like that, if you don't just accept before day one of stepping on set, like, I'll never be able to see this person for who they are after this, or if people or actors, especially the inexperienced ones, are able to just kind of write it off as, hey, that's his job. I think in most cases you are. However, I do think, like anything else, there are probably exceptions to the rule, and I would imagine seeing your coworker in this case as a decent human being, that would probably be one of the toughest scenarios in terms of acting. Just somebody who plays and perfects this asshole archetype, to turn around after that and be like, nah, that was totally an act. So that one I've always wondered. It would be fun to hear from a Miles Teller or a James Vanderbeek post filming of either of those and see what they had to say about in between takes and then after the fact entirely, and see if their opinions on Jon Voight and J.K. Simmons respectively changed throughout the filming of the movies, or if it stayed the same, or if it did change, was there just a point where they were unable to talk themselves out of the fact that, hey, he's just acting, or, hey, he's not that bad. That I'd love to hear. As for random observations from the week, love dropping stuff off to people's houses late at night, and just the Pandora's box that is. I think two of my favorites from the week were a guy who was definitely high, just based on what he was getting delivered. Clearly got busted by his wife, or just squealed to his wife that, hey, there's somebody coming with food. And this because of what was ordered. It was something ridiculous. And it was just an insane amount of food that would have fed probably 7 or 8 people. And you just knew by the way it was ordered, you're like, this is for one person. And you get there and you think, well, it's 12:30 a.m. on a Wednesday morning. Surely there will be nobody outside, right? Wrong. It's not the guy waiting outside. It's his wife. And the second you get out of the car, oh, really? Yeah, that's cute, is what you get met with. As if it was your idea to drop that or have that food ordered and delivered. Another favorite is the stunt, let's just call it what it is, stunt that is dropping off to a house that has about 15 different signs out front, and 7 of them are just different ways of saying, we look forward to shooting you. And of course, too, Billy Badass himself probably ordered something along the lines of Ben and Jerry's. So, nothing tops off a sign that says something to the effect of trespassers will be shot. Quite the way some half-baked Ben and Jerry's ice cream does. The best part, too, is that whoever ordered that did not go room to room saying, hey, by the way, I know we're really excited to advertise to the world or the 4 people a year that drive by our house that we will shoot you if you come anywhere near the house. That, they didn't bother going room to room to warn people that, hey, there is somebody coming and we do want this person to show up. and get here and leave both in one piece. So that's always cool too. It's like a 2024 version of Russian roulette. So we'll see what this week brings.